Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I am Iris, and we are chatting about the Scorpio New Moon. I am not one to exaggerate. I am not one to put things like this is a life-changing moment or the biggest transit of the world, even though they're what gets hits. But I am doing it today. I'm doing it with this video because this new moon is incredible. The Scorpio new moon on November 20th, could be very late on the 19th, depending where you are, is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. Our sun and our moon are together. They are conjunct. Mercury Retrograde also at 28 degrees of Scorpio. They are opposite. Uranus Retrograde in Taurus at 29 degrees of Taurus, who just re-entered Taurus, that Uranus. They are trine Neptune, who is at retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces. Those are all very exact. And then it's also trine Jupiter, who just went retrograde at 25 degrees of Cancer. Saturn, 25 degrees of Pisces, also retrograde. And also opposite Sedna, first degree of Gemini, and approaching their sextile to Pluto. It is such a moment. It is such an incredible moment. And, you know, this is literally a rebirth. It is a rebirth within the cycle of rebirth that we are all journeying through, which is ultimately that February conjunction of Saturn and Neptune. But now it is a moment for you to get quiet. All new moons are asking us to come into the quiet, to come into a way of listening, to receive, to set intentions. But this new moon is asking you to get quiet. And part of the reason I'm putting this up now is because we are already being pulled in to the energy of this new moon. So by the time that this is going up, that our Scorpio sun is going to be in the last decan of Scorpio. It's coming into first its trine with Jupiter and Saturn. Then we'll have that new moon on the 20th when the sun and the moon are together. And so as that sun is moving through those last 10 degrees of Scorpio, the moon is waning. And eventually it will come into Scorpio, and then it will conjunct the sun, and that will be our new moon, also conjunct Mercury retrograde. And it's getting quieter and quieter. You are being asked to come into a place where you can listen to the depths of your psyche, connecting you to a new experience of empowerment. This new moon seeds us into a new experience of what the word power even means. And we got a lot of suggestions about what it means in the radical new ways that we are moving forth. Scorpio is the messy merging of our psyche with another person's, of our emotion and our wounds with another person's. It is the merging with Goddess. It is the death and rebirth that happens within the deep mergings that we connect to, through, with. It is how we understand power in an experiential way. And Scorpio has to experience. It has to say, okay, that was way too much. Okay, I want more. Scorpio tends to want more intimacy. And we are talking about a rebirth in your experience of Scorpio, in your experience of intimacy, and in your experience of power. And it has everything to do with Uranus back in Taurus. It has everything to do with awakening to a new experience of what it means to be rooted into your body in a way that you feel self-worth and self-love, not because you're told to, not because that's what wellness says is important, but because you intrinsically feel yourself connected to a way of belonging that the trees and the wind and the plants and all these beings and species of this natural world connect you with, because that is Taurus. And Taurus is our way of knowing that comes from within the body's wisdom. It does not align with the cognitive mind's understanding of purpose, of wellness. It is a witchy wisdom that was systematically silenced for centuries through violence. And it is waking up. And it requires the senses. It requires you listening to your body, your intuition, what water teaches you when you spend time by a lake or ocean or out in the rain or in the sacred bathtub, what the earth teaches you when you sit with a tree or walk through the woods. Not a teaching that is so that we can go check off boxes and go perform. It is about our soul's belonging. It is about your belonging. And the way that when we feel that from the inside out, when we feel that with our feet on the ground, when we surround ourselves with beautiful plant friends, that we just feel connection. And that is such a healing. And this goes in to awakening us, awakening you to what you are really here for, to who you really are, to why you've had the journey that you've had, to what relationship means, what love means, what the raw messiness of vulnerability means when you're really feeling it. What does it mean to share your power with another person? What does it mean to do that, not to manipulate, not to have power over, but to truly share and meet in that place where we begin to merge who we've been and who we're becoming with another being, and it's raw and it's unpredictable, and there's no relationship coach that can tell you if you're doing it the right way, because it depends on your chart and the person whose chart you're merging with. And that's the simple truth of astrology, and why astrology, evolutionary embodied archetypal astrology, doesn't always align with the nice, neat systems that Western culture has created, because it is raw, and it is the archetypal resonance that is alive in all the archetypes we work with, and they're all speaking with you. This is a turning point in your journey, and it is related to all of the outer planets, how they've been working with you. It's related to the mighty water trine we closed out October with, and those waves might be surfacing again, but there's deeper messages. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, who's the only Olympian who can easily go between realms and journey into the underworld, is here to be with you, with your solar purpose, with your emotional being in your own underworld. Opposite a Uranus who is awakening you to a new way of being rooted in reality. And it is literally new. It is the you that you have been in the process of becoming probably since you were in your mother's womb. And it is something that is only able to happen right now. Right? You were always going to be here when these alignments were coming in, when we were being pulled into that cosmic birth canal as Saturn and Neptune start new structurings of realities in the fire ways in February. But this is about your psyche. And this week, like by the time you're watching this, the energy is already here. And so spending the week carving out times to listen every day, to walk in the woods, to be by water, to have a bath. You know, it doesn't matter if you're rural or urban. The earth is here. The elements are here. You can work with them. There is very nice energy here to move between earth and water. If you are feeling overwhelmed, then you do want to have some stones that you kind of keep in your hand, that you meditate with, crystals, of course, you know, but whatever grounds you. But you also want to allow, so much of this energy with this new moon is about allowing the messages to come. And that is just witnessing. And it is also letting go. Okay, with this birth, there is literally potentially letting go of a very old version of yourself. It's a snake skin that has been shedding, and part of this psyche has still been clutching at it. And Uranus, opposite this new moon, is a lightning bolt going into the embodied way of being that helps us to let it go. And it's not us that's letting go. It's the lightning coming from Uranus. And it's literally Uranus saying you cannot carry that identity anymore. That value system. That was the you who was raised by other people. That was the you who lived in a different place. That was the you who was in a different relationship. That was the you who thought you had to perform in this way. It gets let go for us. That embodied Taurus way of valuing. And what happens with that is as that shatters away, we get to see who we are in the depths of our being. And you get to celebrate who you've become. And you get to move forward with who you want to be in a new embodiment of power, in a new way of relating. And this is all the outer planets. This is what we're here for. And it is a turning moment. And there might be a lot of emotion coming up because there's a lot of water energy here. And so you want to float. You want to float in the quietude, in the dark womb, trusting that you do not need to be afraid in there. It is your dark womb, and it is also the goddesses. And it is what you're here for. And there is beautiful messages to hear there. Mercury is here giving you insight. That is the inward turn. That is the introspection. And no one needs to confirm them. You know, if it feels good to slow down, then slow down. You know, you don't need to meet whatever goals you set for yourselves for 2025. I was going to read this many books. I was going to do this many posts. I was going to have a business making this much money. All of the astrology says let those goals go and be with the person that you are becoming right now, because she, he, they need you. And that is who you're also coming into a raw, messy relationship with. And you can glimpse that version of yourself with this new moon by listening, by walking the witchy path, by reclaiming the intuition, reclaiming the earth-based spirituality, reclaiming the embodiment that is another way of knowing. That the mind, when it is trying to control, struggles with. And yet the moment we're actually in it, the mind is able to be in a brilliant union with it. And there's no struggle because it's what we're here to be. But it goes against several hundred years of systematic programming that tried to disconnect mind and body, that tried to gender them, that tried to put them into a nice, neat way of keeping groups of people in power. And those of us not in those groups of people forever thinking that we should be like them. And if we do these few things and check off this and try and get to be the best and go into a competitive nature with people we could just be in loving communion with, instead of competing, we could just have a different way of being humans. We could have different economies. We could have different stories of love. We could have new myths of becoming. And all of that is birthing here. And it's leading us into the close of 2025 and the entry into 2026. So it's big, but it's quiet. It's quiet, but it's loud. But it's loud in the silence. And it is brilliant and blinding beauty in the dark. And that is the Scorpio New Moon. And I will see you there in those cosmic waters, Psyche waters, goddesses waters. Lots of love. Be well.